Imagine standing in your own space without feeling the need to prove anything to anyone, without chasing approval, and without waiting for someone to see your worth before you see it yourself. This audiobook is built on that kind of strength. It teaches you how life begins to open when you turn your energy inward instead of outward, when you choose growth instead of attention, and when you stop running after people who do not value you. Here, you will learn how to build yourself day by day, how to grow through patience and discipline, and how to stop placing your happiness in the hands of others. You will learn how to focus on your goals, your habits, your peace, your progress, and your sense of self. You will understand how confidence grows when you win small battles within yourself, how emotional balance develops when you stop needing constant approval, and how your life becomes stronger when you finally treat yourself like someone who deserves respect. This is not a book about changing others. It is a book about changing yourself in a way that naturally changes how the world responds to you. You will feel the shift when you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. You will experience power when you stop demanding attention and start building a life worth noticing. You will see how success begins the moment you stop giving your energy to people who do not help you grow. If you want a life where peace feels normal, confidence feels steady, progress feels real, and success feels earned, then keep listening. The next pages will walk you through that transformation step by step. This journey is personal. It is direct. It is real. And if you are ready to focus on yourself, everything you want from life will start moving toward you instead of you running toward it. Chapter 1. Focus on yourself and watch your life rise. Focusing on yourself is the moment life quietly shifts in your favor, not because the world around you changes, but because you finally stop abandoning your own growth while trying to prove your worth to others. Many people spend years chasing attention, approval, and belonging, hoping someone will validate them enough to feel secure. They forget that the most meaningful transformation begins when they redirect all that energy back into their own development. This chapter invites the reader into that internal revolution, guiding them toward a life where growth is no longer dependent on external applause, but built on personal strength, self-respect, and consistent inner work. When attention moves inward, progress becomes natural. When validation is no longer the goal, peace replaces anxiety. The moment a person prioritizes their own journey, their value rises and the world responds differently to them. This is not about closing the heart or isolating from others. It is about becoming so grounded and whole that you no longer shrink yourself to fit in places that were never designed for your growth. The foundation lies in acknowledging where energy has been going. Many chase people unknowingly, not physically running behind them, but seeking approval in subtle ways, checking if someone noticed the effort, hoping someone will recognize potential, wanting someone to finally appreciate presence. That kind of longing weakens self-belief because worth becomes negotiable and tied to someone else's perception. Attention moves outward, but growth requires attention inward. The first step is choosing to direct energy toward personal improvement rather than external validation. Start by becoming aware of where your mind wanders. Does it search for reassurance? Does it worry about what others think? Does it replay conversations hoping to sound liked or accepted? Awareness is the moment of power. Once a person sees where energy leaks, they gain control over it. Quietly refocusing attention toward inner progress gives birth to self-mastery. Instead of wondering who values you, ask how you can increase your skills, emotional strength, discipline, and personal purpose. That shift creates a noticeable rise in confidence, and confidence naturally attracts respect without needing to ask for it. Progress begins with one powerful decision, choosing yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a grounded, responsible way. Choosing yourself means you stop asking others to make you feel worthy. You stop shrinking so others feel comfortable. You no longer hand over emotional control. Self-focus is the beginning of emotional independence. It teaches a person that peace comes from within, not from constant approval. When you invest time in your growth, you build a version of yourself that no longer craves validation. You become enough for yourself. That is when happiness stops. Depending on who stays, who claps, and who notices, a focused mind creates stability. A scattered mind creates pain. When attention returns home, real improvement begins with habits, because habits shape identity. Many people want change, but continue repeating the same patterns that keep them stuck. They want confidence without discipline. They want respect without boundaries. They want achievement without consistency. Focusing on yourself means developing habits that reinforce your future, not your insecurities. Start small. Wake up at a regular time. Take care of your body through movement and nutrition. Read something daily that expands your thinking. Reduce activities that drain energy. Progress is not built in dramatic leaps but in steady steps repeated consistently. Over time, these small actions accumulate into strength. You begin to trust yourself. You feel reliable to your own spirit. You stop breaking promises to yourself. Confidence grows, not from what others think, but from who you become through daily discipline. Building inner strength requires solitude, not loneliness, but space to hear your own thoughts without external noise. In silence, a person learns what truly matters to them. They begin understanding their values, priorities, and purpose. Without silence, the mind is driven by external opinions. Solitude teaches clarity. Clarity leads to direction. Direction replaces confusion with movement. A person who knows where they are going does not need approval to walk. They walk because their purpose guides them. Make room for quiet moments each day. Spend time reflecting on choices, behaviors, emotions, and progress. Notice where you improved and where you fell short. Growth is not perfection, it is awareness and correction. When you hold yourself accountable without shame, you mature. When you grow emotionally, you stop reacting from insecurity and begin responding from strength. Self-focus also includes emotional discipline. Many people lose energy by reacting to everything around them. Someone ignores them and they feel unworthy. Someone criticizes them and they fall apart. Someone pulls away and they chase. A person who reacts continuously lives like a puppet controlled by strings of external influences. Self-focus cuts those strings. Instead of reacting, you observe. You evaluate. You decide consciously how to respond. You no longer give your power away. Emotional discipline is not coldness. It is freedom. It allows you to choose peace over chaos, patience over impulse, reflection over emotional storms. Through discipline, you rise above situations that once consumed you. You become steady even when life shakes. That stability is rare, and rare qualities draw respect naturally. Growth also requires letting go of people you chase for validation. This is difficult because humans are wired to seek connection. But connection should not come at the cost of self-respect. If you must work for someone's basic attention, it is not healthy. If you must shrink to stay accepted, you lose yourself. When you focus on your growth, you begin recognizing relationships that help you rise and those that hold you down. You learn that losing someone is not failure if you gain yourself in return. Walking away becomes an act of self-love. You no longer beg for presence. You value mutual exchange. People who see your worth will stay. Those who do not will fall away naturally. Growth filters relationships without conflict. Your elevation becomes the test. Personal growth also demands responsibility. You cannot blame others for your stagnation while expecting success. Taking responsibility means owning your decisions, mistakes, habits, and outcomes. It means understanding that your life is shaped by choices, not by external control. Responsibility is empowering. When you accept full accountability, you gain full power to change. That power sparks motivation. You stop waiting for someone to save you or recognize you. You realize growth is your job. You build discipline, skill, and wisdom because you want a better future, not because you want approval. Life rises in proportion to responsibility. The more responsibility you accept, the more control you gain over your destiny. Focus also creates self-respect. When you honor your goals, your time, and your emotional boundaries, you begin valuing yourself more deeply. You stop tolerating disrespect, manipulation, and inconsistency. You start expecting yourself to show up fully. You treat yourself with dignity. Self-respect is magnetic. It changes how people interact with you. You speak with clarity. You express needs without fear. You walk away when necessary. You live by standards rather than desires. People can sense when someone respects themselves. That energy attracts balanced connection and opportunities. Respect begins within, not outside. Daily progress builds momentum. Momentum builds transformation. Transformation reshapes identity. Identity shapes destiny. This is how life rises when you focus on yourself. It is a quiet rise, not loud or dramatic. It begins with small decisions that compound into greatness. Imagine waking with purpose instead of pressure. Imagine working toward goals because they matter to you, not because you want someone to notice. Imagine feeling peace even when others misunderstand you. Imagine trusting yourself deeply because you watched yourself grow through discipline. That is the reward of self-focus. Not applause, not approval, but inner power. There will be days when discipline feels heavy, days when loneliness whispers, days when old habits return. Growth is not linear. Progress includes setbacks. A person who truly focuses on themselves learns to continue through silence, boredom, discomfort, and slow progress. They do not quit because results are delayed. They trust the process. They know consistency creates change even when no one notices. True growth is internal before it becomes visible. Plant roots before branches. When internal stability grows strong, external success becomes inevitable. The more you focus inward, the clearer life becomes. You stop competing with others and start competing with yesterday's version of yourself. You no longer compare success, you measure effort and growth. Comparison fades when you realize every journey is unique. Some rise early, some rise later. What matters is that you rise. Your timeline is your own. Focusing on others distracts you. Focusing on self elevates you. Progress becomes natural because you are no longer pulled in every direction. You know where you are going. You choose habits that align with that direction. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop shrinking because others feel uncomfortable with your growth. You move like someone who knows their worth. The world responds to self-focus. When you work on yourself, opportunities find you. When you improve your skills, success seeks you. When you value your time, others value it too. When you stop chasing people, the right people come. Life rises because you rise, not through luck, but through deliberate inner work. You stop waiting for doors to open and start building your own. You stop doubting your potential and start acting on it. Action builds evidence, and evidence builds belief. Belief builds destiny. This chapter invites the reader to begin that shift today. Not tomorrow, not when motivation feels strong. Growth begins in this moment by making a clear decision to choose self-focus. That decision must be followed by consistent action. Start with set goals that matter, reduce distractions, protect your peace, work on skills, reflect daily, eat better, move your body, sleep well, read often, build discipline brick by brick. A strong life is constructed through simple, repeated actions. Each day is a chance to rise. Each choice either builds or breaks your future. Walk with intention. A person who focuses on themselves becomes someone they can trust. That trust is the foundation of all success. When you trust your work, you stop fearing opinions. When you trust your growth, you stop chasing validation. When you trust your path, you stop needing someone to guide every step. You become your own source of direction. That is real freedom. Freedom is the ability to stand tall, to grow without permission, to evolve without applause. True power is quiet. Real transformation is internal. A person who focuses inward becomes unshakable. Life will rise for the person who rises for themselves. Not through luck, but through alignment. Not through validation, but through self-respect. Not through chasing, but through building. This chapter is an invitation to look in the mirror with honesty, respect, and responsibility. There is more strength inside than you have allowed yourself to believe. There is potential waiting behind your excuses. There is greatness underneath your doubt. Growth is the door. Self-focus is the key. Start now by choosing to show up for yourself every day. Choose habits that serve your future. Choose peace over approval. Choose improvement over comfort. Choose purpose over distraction. Choose progress even when it is slow. Choose self-respect so deeply that chasing people becomes unnecessary. The more you invest inward, the more abundance you create outward. Your life becomes richer, clearer, stronger. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is self-preservation. It is self-expansion. It is the beginning of everything you have been searching for in others. Rise by returning home to your own mind, heart, and purpose. When you focus on yourself, life aligns. Growth compounds, confidence strengthens, opportunities appear, relationships improve, peace deepens. Success becomes natural. A person who masters themselves masters their destiny. You do not need validation to grow. You do not need approval to. You simply need commitment to yourself. The moment you choose you, your life begins to rise. Chapter 2: Build a strong mindset and stop chasing acceptance. Building a strong mindset begins with understanding how easily the mind can become dependent on acceptance from others. Many people shape their decisions based on what will make them liked rather than what will make them grow. They allow opinions to influence directions, approval to dictate choices, and validation to define identity. A strong mindset is built when a person decides to live from inner conviction, not from the shifting approval of the world around them. Strength does not come from being praised or supported. It comes from being grounded enough to continue even when unnoticed. Growth comes when you hold on to your truth without asking for validation. A mind becomes powerful when it stops seeking permission. Instead of waiting for someone to agree, you move with clarity. Instead of taking rejection personally, you take it as guidance towards something better. You learn to sit with your thoughts rather than escaping into the comfort of someone else's approval. Acceptance feels comforting, but relying on it weakens independence. The strongest minds are built through self-trust. When you know who you are, you no longer need others to confirm it. You operate from purpose rather than insecurity. This kind of strength is not loud or aggressive. It is steady, it is calm, it is controlled. A person with a strong mindset sees challenges as training rather than attacks on identity. Criticism becomes information rather than a wound. Silence becomes space for focus rather than evidence of rejection. The process of building strength starts with self-awareness. Notice how often you adjust your behavior to be liked. Notice how much energy you spend thinking about how others see you. Notice how often you silence your voice to avoid disapproval. Awareness is the doorway to change. Once you see these patterns clearly, you can begin replacing them. You learn to speak from authenticity instead of fear. You begin setting boundaries without guilt. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop depending on acceptance to feel worthy. A strong mind holds its own value. Growth requires discomfort, and a strong mindset embraces it. When you stop chasing acceptance, you will face moments of uncertainty. People may not understand your decisions. Some may distance themselves. Others may question your change. This is where mindset must hold firm. If you crumble when criticized, you return to the same patterns that limited you before. Strength is built through endurance, through choosing growth, even when approval is absent. You begin to trust your ability to stand alone. You realize that acceptance is a bonus, not a necessity. You continue building your life based on inner standards rather than external applause. Daily practice strengthens the mind. You do not wake up mentally strong by accident. You become strong through intentional choices. Start each morning with clarity about what matters most. Choose tasks that align with your personal values. Challenge yourself to finish what you start. Stay disciplined when motivation fades. When your mind tries to seek approval, pause and realign. Remind yourself that value is not determined by who approves you. It is shaped by who you become. Every small moment of resilience strengthens the foundation of your life. Chasing acceptance keeps the mind fragile. It makes confidence conditional. It turns identity into something controlled by others. A strong mindset removes those chains. You think independently. You decide based on principles rather than opinions. You do not abandon yourself to please someone else. You stop waiting for recognition and focus on growth. You realize how much time was wasted worrying about judgment that never truly mattered. You reclaim your energy. You direct it toward building skill, discipline, and purpose. A strong mindset requires emotional steadiness. When others disagree or walk away, you remain centered. You no longer panic when someone disapproves. You listen, evaluate, and decide what to learn from the situation. If feedback is useful, you grow. If it is empty, you release it. You are no longer controlled by emotional reactions. You respond with thought rather than impulse. You stay committed instead of collapsing under pressure. This stability makes you powerful. People with emotional steadiness stand out naturally because they are grounded in themselves rather than pulled by external forces. Stop chasing acceptance. You must define your own identity. Know what you stand for. Understand your strengths. Accept your weaknesses while working to improve them. Build a vision for your life that does not depend on being liked. When you have a clear sense of self, other people's opinions lose power. You gain direction. You make decisions with purpose. You stop comparing your path to others because you understand that growth happens at different speeds for different people. Comparison collapses once identity becomes solid. Self-belief is a pillar of strong mindset. It grows through action, not through wishes. Do things that challenge you. Take steps even when uncertain. Follow through even when tired. Each completed effort adds proof that you can. Confidence becomes internal rather than borrowed. You overcome obstacles not by hoping for support, but by developing perseverance. You learn that you can endure struggle and still move forward. You learn that you can create progress even without applause. Letting go of acceptance is freeing. You no longer seek approval as a measure of worth. You no longer chase attention to feel valuable. You no longer depend on being chosen. Instead, you choose yourself. You pursue goals that align with who you want to become. You stop performing for others and start improving for your own growth. You become someone who shows up even when unnoticed. Someone who keeps working even when unrecognized. Someone who builds a strong life from within. Resilience is a muscle, strengthened through challenges. There will be moments when doubt appears. Moments when you question whether self-direction is worth it. Those moments are shaping you. Every time you continue, your mindset becomes stronger. Each struggle is a lesson. Each setback is a teacher. A strong mind grows through experience, not through comfort. You learn patience, you learn discipline, you learn to rely on inner strength rather than external praise. Stopping the chase for acceptance allows space for genuine connection. When your worth no longer depends on approval, relationships become healthier. You attract people who respect your principles rather than those who use your insecurity. You engage with others from strength instead of desperation. You communicate honestly because you no longer fear rejection. You set standards, and only those who match them remain. You no longer cling to relationships that require you to shrink. Every day offers a chance to build mindset. Speak kindly to yourself. Challenge self-doubt with action. Stick to your goals even when no one is watching. Notice how often your mind seeks acceptance and gently redirect your focus. Growth happens through repetition of strength-based behaviors. Over time, the need for approval fades. You begin to enjoy your own company. You value solitude because it gives clarity. You appreciate internal progress more than external attention. Life changes when you no longer depend on acceptance. You stop fearing judgment. You stop hesitating when opportunities appear. You begin making bolder decisions. You take risks because you know you can handle the outcome. Failure becomes feedback, not identity. Success becomes personal, not performative. You rise because you have built strength that cannot be controlled by opinions. The foundation of power is self-governance. When you govern your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you create a mind that cannot be shaken easily. You learn to stay calm during uncertainty. You learn to move forward even when misunderstood. You learn to stand independently when needed. Approval becomes secondary, growth becomes primary. This chapter ends with a simple truth. A strong mindset is not given, it is built. It is built when you stop bending yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. It is built when you prioritize growth over acceptance. It is built when you decide that your value is not up for negotiation. Strength comes from choosing yourself consistently. When you build a strong mind and stop chasing acceptance, you create a life directed by clarity rather than approval. You stand firm. You grow with purpose. You rise without needing permission. Chapter 3. Grow daily through discipline, self-respect, and patience. Growth becomes real when a person chooses to improve a little every day, not through bursts of motivation, but through steady actions supported by discipline, self-respect, and patience. Daily improvement is not dramatic. It is often quiet and unnoticed by others, but it is powerful because it builds character from within. Discipline keeps you moving when mood fluctuates. Self-respect reminds you why you deserve better. Patience helps you trust the slow progress. These three qualities shape a person who grows steadily, consistently, and intentionally rather than waiting for perfect moments or external push. To grow daily, you must show up for yourself, even when no one else sees the effort. Discipline begins with small choices. It is waking up when the alarm rings instead of delaying goals. It is choosing progress over distraction. It is practicing consistency even when motivation fades. Many people desire growth but avoid the discomfort that comes with discipline. They want to improve but struggle to maintain habits. Real change requires structure. Create routines that support your goals. Decide what matters and commit to it. Growth through discipline is the act of refusing to negotiate with excuses. You hold yourself to a standard that pushes you forward instead of allowing you to remain comfortable. Discipline is not punishment, it is a gift you give to your future self. Self-respect forms the emotional backbone of this process. When you respect yourself, you no longer accept behaviors that limit you. You stop speaking negatively to yourself. You treat your time with importance. You stop tolerating habits that sabotage progress. Self-respect means knowing you deserve the life you are trying to build. It reminds you why consistency matters. When you value who you are, you refuse to abandon the goals that align with your growth. You no longer rely on others to validate your progress. You begin to show up because you believe you are worth the effort. Patience holds everything together. Growth takes time, and without patience, discipline becomes heavy and self-respect becomes fragile. Many people quit because results do not appear quickly. They lose faith in the process. But the truth is that genuine transformation is gradual. You plant yourself into routines and allow time to shape you. Progress grows like a slow rising tide, unnoticed at first, powerful later. Patience teaches you to stay consistent. Even when results are not immediate, you trust that every step forward creates movement. You keep going because you know growth is happening beneath the surface. Daily improvement demands awareness. Notice how you spend your hours. Notice the thoughts you repeat. Notice the habits that guide your days. Awareness helps you correct what works against your goals. Replace time, wasting habits with productive ones. Choose focus over distraction. Set tasks and finish them. Hold yourself accountable. Every day is a chance to increase strength, knowledge, stability, or skill. Growth expands through repetition. Small steps done repeatedly shape identity. Building discipline also means resisting comfort. Comfort slows development. Comfort encourages delay. Comfort creates a life of waiting. You grow when you challenge yourself. Choose tasks that stretch your capacity. Learn new skills. Push your limits gradually. Each challenge builds resilience. You become stronger mentally and emotionally. You gain confidence in your ability to handle responsibility. Growth happens in spaces where effort outweighs ease. Self-respect grows through boundaries. Protect your time, your peace, and your progress. Do not allow people or habits to pull you backward. If something weakens your growth, distance yourself. If someone distracts you from improvement, limit access. Your development requires protection. Self-respect means valuing progress enough to say no when necessary. Boundaries are not walls but shields that protect what you are building. Patience teaches acceptance. There will be days when progress is slow. There will be moments when motivation weakens. You may feel tired or discouraged, but patience allows you to continue. It reminds you that slow progress is still progress. It helps you appreciate effort over outcome. You remain steady even when results are delayed. You do not rush growth. You nurture it. You sustain it. Daily progress is formed through habits. Habits become automatic actions when repeated. Build habits that reflect the person you want to become. Read often. Exercise your body. Practice gratitude. Work toward goals, even in small increments. Organize your life. Clean your environment. Plan your tasks. Growth becomes easier when routines support you. A disciplined mind works efficiently, even on difficult days. You honor commitments even when tired. You move forward with purpose. A person who grows daily does not compete with others. They compare progress only to their past self. They focus on improvement rather than validation. They measure success by effort, not applause. They feel proud knowing they showed up, regardless of whether someone watched. This kind of growth is sustainable because it is internal, rather than dependent on external recognition. Daily growth improves emotional strength. You learn how to handle stress calmly. You become less reactive and more thoughtful. You stop taking things personally. You think before responding. You reflect before deciding. Emotional discipline grows through consistent practice. You catch impulsive habits and replace them with patience. You listen more deeply to yourself and others. You learn to pause, evaluate, and move with clarity. Discipline requires responsibility. You must take ownership of your actions. You cannot blame others for your results. You cannot wait for the perfect environment. You cannot depend on motivation alone. You build structure instead. You create routines that hold you accountable. You set goals with intention and work toward them steadily. Responsibility is empowering because you control your progress. You shape your own outcome. Self-respect encourages growth. By changing internal language, speak to yourself with encouragement instead of criticism. A harsh inner voice weakens motivation. A respectful inner voice strengthens effort. Talk to yourself the way you would speak to someone you care about. Acknowledge progress. Identify mistakes without shame. Growth thrives in a mind that supports rather than attacks itself. Patience teaches trust. You trust the process. You trust the effort. You trust your ability to improve. Without patience, growth feels frustrating. With patience, it becomes a meaningful journey. You stop rushing results and start appreciating development. You stay steady through difficult phases. You learn persistence. You create depth through continued effort. Growth through discipline means working even when you do not feel ready. You move forward. Despite inconvenience, you build inner power through consistency. The more you practice discipline, the easier it becomes. The more you respect yourself, the higher your standards rise. The more patient you remain, the stronger your foundation becomes. Every day offers a chance to learn something new. You can read, practice, reflect, or improve in small, meaningful ways. Growth is created through accumulated effort. You reshape your mindset step by step. You improve who you are through intentional choices. Each day becomes a person who practices discipline, self-respect, and patience, builds an internal stability that cannot be easily shaken. They no longer depend on external approval. They rely on personal standards. They stay consistent through setbacks. They grow quietly and steadily. They move with confidence because they trust their ability to progress. They build a future rooted in strength. Growth through daily practice is not something you feel immediately. It reveals itself through action. One day you notice you react with wisdom instead of frustration. You realize you finish tasks more easily. You see yourself improving without force. Growth becomes a lifestyle rather than a moment. When discipline guides your choices, when self-respect shapes your behavior, and when patience supports your journey, you evolve into someone stronger, calmer, and more capable than you once imagined. You rise because you work for it. You grow because you choose it. You improve because you devote yourself to the process each day. This chapter offers a reminder that transformation is available to anyone willing to commit to consistent effort. Growth is not reserved for those with special talent or privilege. It belongs to those who show up daily, who refuse to abandon self-respect, and who practice patience despite uncertainty. Keep improving one step at a time. Keep nurturing your habits. Keep respecting your path. Keep trusting the slow rise. Discipline shapes action. Self-respect shapes identity. Patience shapes the journey. When combined, they create unstoppable growth. Chapter 4. Invest energy into skills, goals, and personal growth. Investing energy into skills, goals, and personal growth means choosing to direct your effort towards something that builds your future, instead of scattering it across distractions that offer nothing in return. Most people want improvement, yet they pour their time into temporary pleasures while neglecting the development that could transform their lives. A life changes when energy is allocated wisely. Growth expands when effort is consistent. Progress unfolds when actions align with purpose. To invest energy is to decide that every part of your life has value and that wasted potential is too expensive to afford any longer. Improvement becomes a responsibility, not an occasional wish. Skills are the tools that shape destiny. The more capable you become, the more opportunities you attract. The world rewards competence, whether it is communication, leadership, problem-solving, or knowledge in a specific field. Skill makes you useful and dependable. Skill is not born. It is created through practice. Choose one area at a time. Study deeply. Practice deliberately. Replace idle scrolling with meaningful learning. Replace procrastination with scheduled training. Your ability sharpens when effort is repeated. Every hour spent improving a skill adds strength to your future. When you develop skills, you become someone who can serve, create, lead, and build. You no longer rely on luck, because your competence creates its own path. Setting goals gives direction to your energy. Goals remove confusion and replace it with clarity. Without goals, effort is scattered like water with no container. With goals, energy becomes powerful and focused. Identify what you want to achieve in the coming months or years. Be specific in intention and consistent in action. Break goals into small daily tasks. When you complete them, momentum grows. Goals give reason to wake up early, to push harder, to decline distractions. They give purpose to the discipline required for success. Every completed step builds confidence. You begin realizing that achievement is not distant. It responds to effort. You no longer daydream about a better life. You work toward it. Personal growth is the expansion of your mind, character, and emotional maturity. Growth means learning from mistakes instead of hiding from them. It means becoming aware of weaknesses and improving them. It means questioning old beliefs and building healthier ones. Growth is continuous. It never ends because there is always more to understand, more strength to build, more wisdom to gain. Personal growth transforms how you think, respond, and live. It teaches you to take responsibility instead of blaming circumstances. It teaches you to act with purpose instead of reacting out of habit. It strengthens identity. It deepens self-understanding. The more you grow, the more prepared you are for opportunities you once could not handle. Energy is limited each day, and where you place it determines the quality of your life. You can invest it in fears, doubts, and distractions, or you can invest it in development. Time given to growth is never wasted. Time given to negativity is lost forever. Evaluate how you currently spend your hours. Count the minutes consumed by unproductive habits. Notice how easily focus breaks. Then redirect deliberately. Replace empty entertainment with reading or skill practice. Replace gossip with planning. Replace worry with action. A person who prioritizes growth uses time with intention. Investing energy does not mean pushing endlessly without rest. It means aligning actions with vision. It means working in ways that build your future rather than drain your potential. Create a routine that supports improvement. Schedule hours for learning. Allocate time for reflection. Include moments for silence to reset the mind. Progress does not demand perfection. It requires consistent action. Some days will be productive, others will feel slower. Continue anyway. Implementation matters more than intensity. The habit of showing up creates advancement more reliably than bursts of effort, followed by long pauses. Developing skills requires persistence. You will struggle at first. Frustration is natural. Your ability may feel small compared to the result you imagine. This is where most people quit. But those who continue eventually surpass those who started with more talent. Skill belongs to the persistent, not the gifted. Every repetition builds fluency. Every session sharpens ability. Keep going even when improvement seems invisible. Growth is happening internally long before it becomes visible externally. You cannot see the roots while they form, but they support the entire tree. Skill works the same way. Investing in goals shapes identity. When you repeatedly pursue goals, you become someone who finishes what they start. You develop reliability. You trust yourself. You no longer make empty promises to your future. You follow through. Goals teach discipline, patience, and resilience. They show you that success comes from continuous effort rather than sudden breakthroughs. Every day you work toward a goal, you are building character. The outcome matters, but the transformation during the pursuit matters more. Personal growth strengthens emotional stability. You learn to control reactions. You pause before responding. You choose clarity over confusion. Growth allows you to handle criticism without collapse. You learn to separate opinion from truth. You understand that setbacks are not failures. They are information. You change direction when necessary without losing enthusiasm. Growth teaches adaptability. It builds mental strength. It sharpens. You become someone who can survive difficulty without breaking. When you invest in yourself, your value increases. Not in a superficial sense, but in a way that changes how you live and what you attract. A skilled person has options. A person with goals has direction. A person dedicated to growth becomes unstoppable. You no longer fear uncertainty because you evolve consistently. You no longer cling to comfort because progress feels more rewarding. You stop waiting for chances. You create them. Remove anything that steals energy without offering growth. Distance from distractions is not loss. It is investment. You are redirecting resources toward your development. Slow down consumption of negative media. Reduce time spent around people who drain focus. Replace noise with knowledge. Replace repetition with advancement. Growth requires space, mental space, emotional space, and time. When you free that space, progress becomes natural. Energy invested in skill makes you competent. Energy invested in goals makes you purposeful. Energy invested in growth makes you wise. Together, they build a life rooted in strength rather than chance. You stand on a foundation crafted by effort. Your progress becomes self-made. Success no longer depends on approval. It grows through dedication. The beauty of investing in yourself is that returns compound. One skill leads to another. One goal opens a door to the next. Growth in one area improves many areas. You communicate better. You think clearer. You make decisions more confidently. You problem solve faster. You trust your ability to adapt. Progress becomes continuous. This chapter reminds the reader that no one improves accidentally. Improvement comes from prioritizing development. Your future reflects how you spend your energy now. Each hour can either build or weaken your potential. Choose the actions that shape who you want to become. Study, plan, reflect, evolve. Growth is earned daily. A life invested in skills becomes useful. A life invested in goals becomes meaningful. A life invested in personal growth becomes powerful. You hold the ability to improve continuously. Use your energy wisely. Give it purpose. Direct it with intention. Create advancement through consistency. Every day offers progress. Every effort leaves a mark. You are the architect of your growth. Chapter 5. Strengthen self-worth by choosing peace over people. Strengthening self-worth begins when you choose inner peace above the need to be accepted, validated, or kept close to people who disturb your balance. Many spend their life trying to maintain relationships that drain them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually because they fear losing connection more than they fear losing themselves. Real self-worth grows when you stop sacrificing your peace just to stay involved in places that do not value you. Peace is a reflection of inner strength. When you value peace, you stop tolerating chaos disguised as companionship. You stop lowering your voice for approval. You stop allowing emotional disturbances to dictate your life. You choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, alignment over attachment. That decision changes everything. A person who chooses peace does not need constant reassurance from others to feel whole. They do not chase those who walk away. They do not beg for attention, apologies, or closure. They recognize that presence means nothing without respect and loyalty. When you prioritize peace, you begin valuing your mental state more than temporary comfort. You realize that not every person deserves access to you. Some relationships weaken confidence, blur boundaries, and distract you from growth. You learn to separate closeness from goodness. Not everyone who stands beside you helps you rise. When a connection disrupts your peace, distance is an act of self-respect, not bitterness. Self-worth strengthens when you stop internalizing the actions of others. You no longer measure your value through someone's inconsistency or coldness. You understand that how someone treats you reflects their character, not your worth. Peace enters when you detach from emotional dependence. You give yourself permission to walk away from disrespect, even if you once wished to stay. Choosing peace is choosing loyalty to your own well-being. You no longer accept behavior that diminishes you. You no longer ignore your intuition. You trust yourself enough to leave when peace becomes impossible. Selecting peace over people does not mean isolating from the world. It means choosing quality over quantity. You seek relationships built on honesty, respect, and mutual support, rather than convenience or fear of being alone. You connect with those who align with your growth, rather than those who keep you stagnant. Self-worth grows each time you refuse to compromise your values simply to be liked. You choose to surround yourself with people who bring calm instead of unrest. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You stand firm in who you are, knowing that your presence does not need permission to be felt. Peace also teaches emotional independence. You stop expecting others to fix your feelings. You stop assigning them responsibility for your happiness. You take charge of your emotional world. This independence frees you from disappointment because your worth no longer depends on external response. You feel whole by yourself. You enjoy silence. You enjoy stillness. You enjoy your own company. You realize that loneliness is not the absence of people, but the absence of self-connection. When you strengthen that connection, you no longer fear distance. You learn to enjoy peace as a companion, rather than seeing it as a void. To choose peace means setting standards for your life. You recognize what behavior is acceptable and what is not. You communicate clearly. You do not apologize for protecting your heart. You do not excuse disrespect because you want to stay close to someone. You no longer chase people to avoid conflict. You speak truth respectfully. You enforce boundaries consistently. Boundaries protect your peace. Boundaries nurture self-worth. When you honor your boundaries, you tell yourself that you matter. Your peace increases every time you stop responding to negativity. Not everything requires your attention. Not everyone deserves your reaction. Silence becomes strength instead of weakness. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself against every assumption or judgment. You understand that peace comes when you stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy becomes reserved for growth rather than conflict. You stop fighting for spaces where your heart is not safe. Choosing peace over people reveals who belongs in your life. Those who genuinely care will meet you in respect. They will value your boundaries rather than test them. They will support your growth instead of resisting it. When you stop overgiving, you see clearly who gives back. When you stop tolerating chaos, you attract calm. The right people do not require you to suffer to stay connected. They bring stability, encouragement, and balance. They make peace easier, not harder. Self-worth expands when you recognize that needing less from others gives you more control over your happiness. You stop placing your value into hands that may not hold it with care. You no longer depend on external validation to feel enough. You build validation from within. You learn to affirm yourself through discipline, growth, and personal achievement. Rather than through attention, you reinforce your worth through action, integrity, and self-care. You stop questioning your worth just because someone fails to appreciate it. Peace is a decision repeated through daily choices. You choose calmness over reaction. You choose understanding over conflict. You choose distance over drama. You choose growth over attachment. With time, these choices build a life that feels lighter, clearer, and more aligned. Stress decreases when you stop trying to impress or chase people who do not value your presence. Your heart becomes less restless. Your mind becomes less loud. You feel stronger inside because peace becomes your foundation. The journey of self-worth involves letting go of old emotional habits. If you spent years trying to please and prove your value, change may feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel guilty walking away. You may doubt your decisions. You may question if protecting your peace is selfish. But peace is not selfish. It is self-preserving. You deserve a life free from constant emotional chaos. You deserve relationships that feel safe, not exhausting. You deserve connection grounded in respect, not dependency. The more you honor your peace, the more your heart heals from the need to earn love. Growth becomes natural when peace becomes your priority. You think clearly, you make better decisions. You gain emotional balance. Your confidence increases because you no longer allow chaos to define your worth. You move from reactive living to intentional living. You stop giving your power away. You reclaim control over your time, your energy, and your well-being. You begin to experience life through clarity instead of confusion. Choosing peace may require releasing attachments that once felt essential. It may require stepping away from environments that once felt familiar. Transformation often requires letting go before receiving better. You might lose people, but you gain yourself. You gain presence. You gain calmness. You gain a life that feels aligned with your values. Losing what disrupts your peace is protection, not loss. Your worth grows every time you choose yourself. Strengthening self-worth means acknowledging that your peace is not negotiable. You no longer tolerate treatment that belittles you. You do not justify disrespect. You do not ignore discomfort for the sake of connection. You show yourself the love you once sought elsewhere, and when you do, life begins to shift in your favor. Peace brings clarity, and clarity guides you to better decisions, healthier relationships, and more meaningful experiences. Your life expands when you stop prioritizing people over your well-being. You learn that being centered within yourself creates a foundation. Nothing external can crumble. You learn that peace is power and self-worth is freedom. A person who protects peace grows quietly and beautifully. not through noise or force, but through inner alignment. You rise because you no longer betray yourself for acceptance. This chapter stands as a reminder that self-worth strengthens every time you choose peace, every boundary you set, every moment you walk away from dysfunction, every time you prioritize calm over chaos. You honor yourself by doing so. The world sees your value when you treat yourself with value. Peace deepens worth. Worth shapes identity. Identity influences destiny. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone. Your peace is proof of strength. You choose peace, and through that choice, you choose yourself. Chapter 6. Create a life that attracts, not begs attention. Creating a life that attracts rather than begs for attention begins with the understanding that true value does not demand recognition, it naturally earns it. Many people chase approval and visibility, believing that the louder they appear, the more they will be noticed. Yet, attention of that kind is temporary, shallow, and dependent on others. A fulfilling life is built differently. It is built through depth, not noise, through character, not performance, through steady growth that speaks louder than any attempt to impress. When you focus on becoming someone of substance, the world notices without you needing to ask for it. The foundation of an attractive life is authenticity. When you stop pretending, stop competing, and stop molding yourself into shapes you think others expect, something powerful happens. Your real identity begins to shine. Authenticity carries a quiet confidence. It does not shout, it does not plead. It simply exists with truth. People are drawn to those who live from their essence, not from a mask. To embrace authenticity, you must stop seeking acceptance in places that do not fit your spirit. Speak honestly, live with integrity, align actions with values. When your outward behavior matches your inward truth, you stand in your own power. Another pillar of an attractive life is self-improvement, not the kind done for applause, but the type rooted in genuine desire for growth. When you invest in skills, knowledge, emotional maturity, and inner strength, you naturally rise. You sharpen your mind, you increase your capability, you develop discipline, you become reliable, stable, focused. People notice strength even when it is silent. You do not need to advertise growth, when growth is visible in how you carry yourself. Improvement radiates through posture, decisions, communication, and energy. A life built on progress attracts curiosity, respect, and admiration effortlessly. Living with purpose also draws attention organically. Without purpose, life feels like wandering through days without direction. With purpose, every action feels meaningful. You wake up with intention instead of confusion. You make conscious decisions instead of reacting blindly. Purpose brings clarity and presence. It removes the need to chase validation, because your worth comes from what you are building, not from how others respond. When you live purposefully, you become magnetic. People gravitate toward direction. They are drawn to focus. They feel the strength of someone who knows where they are going. Attention gained through authenticity, improvement, and purpose is stable and lasting. It is not forced. It is not fragile. It grows naturally like a strong tree rooted in values. Rather than floating like a leaf moved by opinions, you no longer need to push yourself into visibility, because visibility becomes a byproduct of who you are. You no longer fear being overlooked, because you trust in your development. You no longer chase recognition, because fulfillment comes from progress, not from praise. A compelling life is built through discipline. The world sees your actions long before it hears your intentions. Discipline means doing what needs to be done even when distractions appear. It means continuing when motivation weakens. It means refusing to be controlled by impulses. A disciplined person commands respect. They do not waste hours, energy, or potential. They build skill quietly. They work when others hesitate. They keep promises to themselves. Discipline creates a powerful rhythm of progress that becomes noticeable without shouting. People admire consistency more than temporary effort. Building a life that attracts attention also requires emotional intelligence. People are drawn to those who communicate clearly, listen deeply, and respond with calm understanding When you speak with intention, you create trust. When you handle disagreements without hostility, you show maturity. When you empathize without losing boundaries, you demonstrate emotional stability. Many chase attention through drama or exaggeration, but stability holds more power than chaos. Emotional intelligence is rare, and rarity attracts. The ability to remain composed in conflict, to guide conversations with thoughtfulness, to understand feelings without drowning in them. These qualities draw admiration naturally. A life worth noticing is not built by seeking an audience, but by building character. Character forms when you do what is right, even when unseen. It grows through honesty in difficult moments, accountability for choices, and loyalty to principles. A person with character does not need validation. Their integrity speaks for them. Respect is earned through behavior, not through performance. When you hold yourself to a standard of honor, you become someone others trust. Trust commands genuine attention, desperation repels it. To attract attention, you must also cultivate inner peace. A calm mind stands out in a noisy world. Most people live in constant tension, overthinking, reacting, worrying, rushing. Peace looks different. Peace moves with steadiness. Peace listens before responding. Peace carries confidence through simplicity. When you are grounded, you become magnetic because calmness feels safe. People gravitate toward environments where they feel understood and not judged. Your presence becomes soothing instead of overwhelming. Your energy becomes strength instead of chaos. Stop trying to be everywhere. Stop trying to prove your worth through visibility. Focus instead on depth, depth in skill, depth in growth, depth in character. A shallow life needs attention to feel alive. A meaningful life creates impact whether noticed or not. The question is not how many eyes are watching, but how much substance lives within you. When you build substance, attention becomes a side effect instead of a pursuit. Sometimes you must step away from people to build the life that will later attract the right ones. Solitude is a workshop for growth. When you remove the noise of opinions, you hear your own direction clearly. You begin building a stronger mind. You cultivate habits that elevate you. You design goals that matter over time. The person you become will draw others more naturally than the person you once tried to force into visibility. A quiet life of progress is more powerful than a loud life of insecurity. A life that attracts attention is balanced. It does not rely solely on work, achievement, or external results. It includes emotional health, physical wellness, intellectual curiosity, spiritual grounding, and healthy relationships. You become someone people enjoy being around because your energy uplifts rather than drains. You are present, not anxious. You are independent, not needy. You are kind, not self-centered. That balance makes your presence valuable. Attention is not something you pursue, it is something you earn through transformation. Become someone worthy of attention, and attention will come. Become someone grounded in confidence, and confidence will show in every movement. Become someone committed to growth, and growth will elevate you. Your life is the message people read, not your words or claims. Show your worth through behavior, not through self-promotion. Make decisions that reflect who you want to be. Choose growth activities over distractions. Choose long-term progress over temporary validation. Choose development over approval. Work on your craft until quality speaks for itself. Build habits that support excellence. Read to expand thought. Train your skills with intention. Improve your weaknesses. Strengthen your strengths. Every investment in yourself compounds. The life that attracts attention is sustainable because it does not depend on being noticed. It stands alone with stability. When attention arrives, it arrives as recognition, not as rescue. You no longer chase acknowledgement. You embody it. You rise through self-improvement instead of performance. You become someone people remember because substance lasts longer than noise. This chapter exists to remind you that value is created through growth, not through begging for validation. Live in a way that reflects purpose, authenticity, wisdom, and discipline. Build a life so strong that attention becomes a natural response rather than a goal. You do not need to shout. You do not need to chase. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. Your growth will speak. Your discipline will show. Your evolution will shine. When you invest in becoming better, the world eventually notices. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. A life that attracts attention grows from within. Focus on building that life. The rest will follow without force. Chapter 7. Develop confidence by achieving small daily self-wins. Confidence grows from consistent small victories that prove to you every single day that you are capable, disciplined, and moving forward. Many people wait for a big moment, a huge breakthrough, or a dramatic achievement to finally feel confident. They believe confidence arrives after success, but confidence is built long before success appears. It forms in invisible moments when you complete a task you wanted to avoid, when you follow through with something you promised yourself, when you take a small step forward instead of standing still. Each small accomplishment becomes evidence that you can rely on yourself, and that evidence is what strengthens confidence piece by piece. Small daily wins matter because they are within your control. You do not need the perfect opportunity or ideal timing. You do not need applause or an audience. You just need to take action, even if the action is tiny. Waking up on time, eating a nourishing breakfast, completing a workout, reading 10 pages, finishing a task you started, organizing your space, taking care of responsibilities. These may look simple and ordinary, but they are powerful every time you choose action over hesitation, discipline over delay, progress over comfort. You build trust in your ability to grow. Trust in yourself is the foundation of confidence. Confidence breaks when you repeatedly abandon your own promises. Each time you say you will do something and avoid it, you weaken self-belief. The mind learns that your words cannot be trusted. But when you commit to small goals and complete them, the opposite happens. You send a message to your mind that you follow through, that you are reliable, that you can depend on your own effort. Self-trust becomes stronger with consistency. Confidence becomes a natural result of proof collected through small victories. Daily wins do not need to be spectacular. The beauty of small progress is that it compounds. One step becomes two. One day becomes a week becomes a month. Over time, these tiny movements create massive change. You begin to notice how your habits, you feel more in control of your life. Tasks that once felt difficult become easier. Doubt begins to fade. You no longer need validation from others because you have proof within yourself. You earned confidence through action, not imagination. Start each morning with one simple goal you can achieve by day's end. Something realistic, something measurable, something that pushes you forward even a little. It might be writing a page, learning a new concept, practicing a skill for 30 minutes, drinking more water, or reducing screen time. Completing this goal is a win. It builds momentum. It reminds you that you can influence your life through effort. Add more as you grow stronger. Do not overwhelm yourself by trying to master everything at once. Confidence is not built through pressure. It is built through progress. Many struggle with confidence because they compare themselves to others. They look at someone's success and forget that growth was built through years of small wins. Confidence does not require competition. It requires consistency. You do not need to be better than anyone. You simply need to be better than yesterday. Comparison steals focus, while self-improvement builds it. Keep your attention on your own steps. Measure growth through action, not through comparison. Daily self-wins are not only physical actions, they are mental victories too. Choosing to think positively instead of spiraling into doubt is a win. Choosing gratitude instead of complaint is a win. Choosing patience over frustration is a win. Each decision shapes who you become. You do not need to conquer everything in one day. Progress lives in the present moment. In one thought, one step, one completed task. Success is not built in leaps, it is built in repeats. Confidence grows through discomfort as well. Small wins often require you to push beyond your comfort zone. Every time you do something that scares you a little, confidence expands. Make that difficult phone call. Speak up when you want to stay silent. Start the project you have delayed. Trying and improving is a win, even when imperfect. You do not need perfection to feel confident. You need participation. You need attempts. You need effort. Courage comes from doing, not waiting. Confidence strengthens when fear is challenged instead of avoided. Self-wins require accountability. Hold yourself responsible for your improvement. Do not make excuses that postpone growth. Replace "I'll start later" with action now. Replace avoidance with engagement. Each time you take responsibility, confidence increases. You begin to feel in control of your life, rather than controlled by circumstance. Responsibility is empowering. It gives ownership to progress. Keep track of daily wins. Write them down at the end of each day. Recognize them, even the smallest ones. Progress becomes visible when recorded. You realize how much you are capable of. You see a pattern of effort. You feel proud of your commitment. Reflection feeds motivation. Motivation feeds action. Action creates more wins. Confidence expands through this cycle. Do not wait for external praise. Praise yourself when you succeed. Celebrate your progress quietly. Acknowledge your effort even when unseen. When confidence comes from within, it does not vanish when people are silent. Your self-worth becomes independent. You move with strength, not because others say you are good enough, but because you have proved it through repeated action. Discipline makes self-wins consistent. Without discipline, progress remains occasional. With discipline, progress becomes a routine. You learn to complete tasks even when bored or tired. You follow through without needing excitement. Discipline is a daily practice that fuels confidence over time. It teaches you that progress is earned, not delivered. It shows you that you are capable of more than you think. Self-wins also come from self-care. Resting properly, eating well, and taking breaks when needed are wins. A well-rested mind performs better. A nourished body works stronger. Growth requires energy. Caring for yourself is not laziness. It is preparation. A confident person knows how to maintain balance. As you grow through small daily wins, you notice your posture changes. Your voice holds more assurance. Your decisions feel more grounded. You stop doubting your worth. You no longer need attention. You are secure in your own progress. People notice confidence not because it demands attention, but because it radiates naturally. It shows in how you move, think, and react. Confidence shaped through small victories cannot be easily taken away. It does not disappear after failure because you know how to rebuild. You know you can begin again. You have evidence that you can improve. You hold proof that you can follow through. Failure becomes a lesson, not a crisis. Growth continues. This chapter stands as a reminder that confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you create. You grow it by showing up, completing tasks, maintaining discipline, and celebrating progress. Small wins each day form a strong identity. They tell you that you are capable. They strengthen your belief in your potential. They build the foundation of a confident life. You do not need the world to approve your growth. You need action that proves your ability to yourself. One step today, another tomorrow. Keep moving, keep building, keep progressing. Every small win is a seed. Over time, those seeds grow into strength no one can shake. Chapter 8. Walk away from validation and trust your own path. Walking away from validation begins the moment you realize your life cannot be measured by how many people approve of you, applaud your choices, or recognize your effort. Relying on external validation keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, always performing, always adjusting, always questioning your own voice. You hesitate, not because you lack strength, but because you fear disapproval. You avoid risks, not because they are impossible, but because you worry about how you will be perceived. When validation becomes your compass, you lose direction. When you stop seeking permission to exist, and instead trust your own path, you reclaim power over your life. Trusting your own path means believing in your decisions, even when others do not understand them. It means moving with intention, rather than waiting for someone to agree with your next step. Your journey is unique. Your pace is personal. No one else is meant to understand every part of it because no one else is walking it. You do not need applause to move forward. You need clarity, purpose, and commitment. Once you learn to stand behind your own choices without external approval, you become strong enough to build your life on your terms. Validation is addictive because it feels reassuring, a compliment, a like, a nod of approval. They all give a quick sense of worth. But that pleasure fades, and if you rely on it, you constantly need more to feel confident. This dependency weakens identity. It teaches the mind to chase approval instead of truth. Internal trust frees you from that need. When you walk away from validation, you no longer seek to impress. You seek to grow. You no longer adapt to fit expectations. You act from integrity. You no longer perform for an audience. You build for yourself. Trust in your path develops through self-awareness. You must learn to differentiate between guidance and control, support and approval seeking, advice and dependence. Listening to others can be helpful, but relying on them for every decision leaves you directionless. You grow when you learn to hear your own voice first. Reflect on what you truly want, not what you think others want from you. Ask yourself what kind of life aligns with your values, your goals, and your peace. When your choices come from inner clarity, external validation becomes optional. Walking away from validation may feel uncomfortable at first. You may feel unseen or misunderstood. People might expect you to stay predictable, agreeable, or easily influenced. They might resist your independence because your self-trust reminds them of their own lack of it. But trust does not require approval. Strength does not require applause. Your path may narrow as false connections fall away, yet your authenticity deepens. You begin to attract people who respect your direction instead of those who need to control it. Trust grows through action. Every time you follow your vision without waiting for approval, you reinforce self-belief. Each decision you make independently strengthens your confidence. You learn to handle outcomes, good or bad, without sacrificing identity. Failure no longer embarrasses you because you see it as part of growth. Success no longer inflates you because you know effort made it possible, not validation. Your journey becomes internal rather than external. Instead of asking, will they approve? Ask, does this align with who I want to become? Instead of waiting for encouragement, create movement. Instead of hoping to be chosen, choose yourself. Trusting your path means accepting responsibility for your choices. You step forward not because others support you, but because you support yourself. When validation no longer controls you, your decisions become empowered. You stop pleasing to avoid judgment. You stop shrinking to gain acceptance. You stop molding your personality to be liked. You start expressing your truth even when it is not popular. You start setting boundaries even when they disappoint others. You start choosing what feels right instead of what feels approved. You no longer need confirmation to move with confidence. Trusting your path also means understanding that clarity grows through experience. You do not need to know every step before taking the first one. Direction forms through movement, not hesitation. When you release the need for validation, you let curiosity replace fear. You explore, you experiment, you learn, you evolve. Your journey becomes your teacher, not the opinions of people who are not walking it. Walking away from validation elevates self-worth. You begin to value your opinion more than external noise. You stop questioning every decision. You stop chasing affirmation. You stop doubting your intuition. You make space for your own voice to lead. You begin recognizing that you were capable long before you believed it. You learn to trust yourself the way you once trusted other people's judgment. Not everyone will understand your path, and that is not a weakness. It is confirmation that your path is individual. Growth rarely happens inside the approval of the crowd. The crowd supports comfort, not evolution. You are meant to walk roads others may not see, may not respect, may not appreciate. Trusting yourself means moving, even when unaccompanied, believing in direction, Even when uncertain, confidence in your inner compass becomes your guide. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. Stop justifying dreams to those who cannot see them. Stop giving your potential away for applause. Your path is not a performance. It is a progression. Validation is temporary. Self-trust is permanent. You are not obligated to meet expectations that compromise your peace. You are not required to fit into spaces that limit your growth. You are not responsible for making others understand your evolution. Trusting your path means listening to guidance within. It means choosing purpose over popularity. It means knowing that the right people and opportunities arrive when identity is strong. You no longer chase approval because you no longer need it to feel valuable. You walk forward with intentionality, grounded in self-belief. You speak truthfully, act boldly, grow steadily. The moment you stop asking for validation is the moment you begin shaping your life. You walk into your future with clarity instead of hesitation. You take ownership of your story. You build self-assurance through commitment to your goals. You honor your voice instead of silencing it for acceptance. This chapter stands as a reminder that validation is not the currency of confidence. Your path does not need permission. Your growth does not need applause. Your journey is leading you somewhere meaningful, and the only approval necessary is your own. Walk forward, trust yourself, build a life that reflects who you are, not who others expect you to be. Chapter 9. Improve your habits until greatness becomes your normal. Improving your habits until greatness becomes your normal begins with recognizing that your daily actions shape your future more than your intentions ever will. Success, discipline, strength, confidence, and transformation are not created through rare moments of effort, but through repeated patterns that slowly build a powerful identity. If you do something often enough, it becomes who you are. If you shape your habits carefully, you shape the person you are becoming. Every day is a vote for the type of life you want to live. Every routine either pulls you toward greatness or holds you in place. Habits are building blocks of your destiny, and when you upgrade them, everything in your life follows. Greatness is not born through sudden breakthroughs. It grows through habits so ingrained that excellence feels natural. It becomes normal to follow through, normal to finish tasks, normal to think clearly, normal to handle challenges with wisdom. Many wait for motivation, yet motivation fades, and habits carry you forward long after inspiration disappears. When positive habits replace old patterns, discipline becomes familiar instead of forced. You wake up with direction rather than confusion. You act because it is part of who you are, not because you feel pressured. The strongest version of you is built through repetition. Changing habits requires honesty. You must look at the routines that weaken your potential. Notice the hours lost to distraction. Notice the lack of structure. Notice the excuses disguised as reasoning. Improvement starts by admitting where you limit yourself, not with shame, but with awareness. Awareness is clarity. Clarity opens the door to change. Replace habits that drain you with habits that nourish your mind, body, and ambition. If you want greatness, you cannot keep patterns that sabotage progress. Growth demands responsibility, and responsibility begins with what you repeatedly do. Start small. You do not need to redesign your entire life overnight. You need to improve one habit at a time until progress becomes automatic. Wake up a little earlier than yesterday, read instead of scrolling, train your skills daily, eat in ways that fuel energy and focus. Keep your environment clean. Practice discipline through simple actions. The small habit you repeat today becomes the character you carry tomorrow. Change is built gradually, intentionally, and consistently. Improving habits requires patience. You will not always feel immediate results. Progress may feel slow, but slow does not mean stagnant. Growth happens quietly before it becomes visible. Over time, your habits redefine your mindset. You begin to think differently, you speak differently, you plan differently. You no longer operate from impulse. You operate from structure. You stop waiting for better days. You create them. You build better habits. by making them easy to start and difficult to avoid. Remove barriers that stop progress. If you want to read more, keep books close. If you want to exercise consistently, prepare ahead. If you want to learn a skill, schedule practice time. If you want to break negative habits, replace them instead of resisting them. Avoiding a habit is hard when nothing replaces it. Substitution works better than suppression. Every time you replace a limiting behavior with a progressive one, you raise your standard. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. A missed day is not failure. Failure is abandoning improvement. If you slip, return quickly. If you pause, resume with strength. Habits become stable when you refuse to collapse under small setbacks. A strong person is not someone who never stumbles. It is someone who continues even after stumbling. Consistency turns effort into identity, identity into confidence, and confidence into greatness. To make greatness normal, raise your expectations. Do not settle for the bare minimum. Expect more from yourself in the way you think, work, communicate, and behave. Expect effort when you feel lazy. Expect focus when your mind wants distraction. Expect resilience when obstacles appear. High standards elevate every habit tied to them. When you expect excellence, you begin to act in ways that reflect excellence. Mediocrity fades when greatness becomes the baseline. Surround yourself with environments that support your habits. Growth requires space where improvement is encouraged, not dismissed. Spend time around people who challenge you to rise, not those who keep you comfortable in stagnation. Protect your mental atmosphere. Reduce the influence of negativity. Avoid environments that strengthen old patterns. Your surroundings either reinforce discipline or feed distraction. Choose carefully where your mind grows. Improving habits also means improving self-talk. The words you speak to yourself become internal truth. Replace doubt with encouragement. Replace harsh criticism with constructive reflection. Believe that you can improve. Believe that you deserve growth. Your mind follows your voice, and your habits follow your mindset. A person who speaks strength into themselves creates habits that reflect strength. Reflect often on your progress. Notice how far you have come. Notice the habits you improved. Notice how discipline is becoming familiar. Reflection prevents growth from going unnoticed. When you acknowledge improvement, you reinforce belief in yourself. Self-belief fuels more progress. Progress creates more identity. Identity supports greatness. The cycle continues because you stay aware of your evolution. Your habits influence how you feel emotionally. When you complete tasks regularly, you experience self-trust. When you avoid responsibilities, you feel guilt or frustration. Strong habits reduce stress. They simplify decisions. You no longer wonder what to do next because your routine guides you. This emotional calmness increases clarity and strengthens confidence. Greatness becomes normal when your mind operates from stability rather than chaos. A powerful habit is taking action without delay. When you think too long, you hesitate. When you hesitate, you lose momentum. Make decisions quickly when they align with your goals. The more you act promptly, the more natural action becomes. Procrastination weakens belief. Action strengthens it. Every time you choose action over delay, you reinforce the identity of a doer, not a thinker. You become someone who executes rather than someone who only plans. Track your habits. What you measure improves, whether it is minutes spent learning, tasks completed, hours exercised, or goals progressed. Write it down. Tracking increases awareness. Awareness increases control. Control increases growth. When you see numbers rise, motivation strengthens. When you see yourself falling behind, accountability wakes you. Tracking creates truth. No hiding, no guessing, just clear. As habits improve, you notice a shift. You stop needing motivation because action feels natural. You stop negotiating with yourself because discipline is part of your identity. You stop wishing to be great. You behave like someone destined for greatness. Normal changes, standards elevate. You no longer identify with old patterns because you have outgrown them. The person you become through habit is stronger than the person you used to be through impulse. Greatness becomes normal when you no longer rely on chance. You rely on preparation. You rely on consistency. You rely on systems, routines, and discipline. There is nothing accidental about a strong life. It is built with intention. Growth becomes a lifestyle instead of a phase. Self-improvement is no longer something you do occasionally. It becomes who you are. This chapter exists to remind you that greatness is built, not discovered. It is a result of intentional habits repeated long enough to become identity. Improve your routines. Strengthen your disciplines. Replace old patterns with better ones. Show up every day even if the progress appears small. Over time, the small becomes significant. When your habits improve, your life elevates. When your routines strengthen, your confidence expands. When progress becomes consistent, greatness becomes normal. You are responsible for the habits that shape you. Create habits worthy of the future you want to live. Chapter 10. Win big when you value yourself above opinions. Winning big when you value yourself above opinions happens the moment you stop letting external voices decide what you are capable of achieving. Most people limit themselves because they fear judgment. They fear being misunderstood, criticized, or dismissed. They allow opinions to define worth and potential. When you break that dependency and place your own value above what others think, your life shifts into power. You rise from validation to self-trust, from hesitation to confident movement. Nothing weakens a person more than living for approval, and nothing strengthens them more than believing in their own value, regardless of who agrees or disagrees. When you truly value yourself, you stop shrinking to fit inside someone else's comfort. You stop minimizing dreams to avoid attention. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You no longer ask permission to grow. You no longer need applause to pursue goals. You hold your worth so firmly that opinions cannot shape your direction. Opinions are reflections of someone else's mindset, not a measurement of your potential. When you understand this deeply, you stop giving their thoughts authority over your life. Winning big requires belief, not approval. Belief is internal. Approval is external. Approval changes with mood, perception, and bias. Belief stays stable when developed through self-respect, discipline, and progress. The more you prioritize your opinion of yourself, the less you rely on others to validate your identity. You judge yourself by effort, growth, improvement, and resilience instead of gossip or commentary. You measure success by progress, not applause. You stop seeking value outside because you finally realize it was inside all along. Many people delay dreams because they want a guarantee that others will support them. They wait to be understood. They wait to be liked. But greatness rarely begins with agreement. Leaders, innovators, creators, none of them waited for the world to approve before acting. They valued their vision more than the opinions surrounding them. To win big, you must do the same. You must move even when doubted. You must believe even when criticized. You must continue even when ignored. Approval can come later or may never come at all. But self-belief must come now. Valuing yourself means setting internal standards. You decide what is good enough for your future. You choose the behavior you expect from yourself. You hold yourself accountable to high effort, not because others are watching, but because your growth deserves nothing less. You raise your standard in how you think, communicate, and act. You refuse to live passively. You refuse to let comfort determine outcome. You take responsibility for your progress, knowing no opinion can replace personal effort. When opinions lose power, fear loses grip. You no longer freeze under judgment. You no longer hesitate when someone doubts you. You feel grounded in your decisions. You move with clarity instead of caution. People may talk, criticize, or misunderstand, but self-value turns noise into background. You realize voices around you cannot stop what is inside you. You stop chasing respect and start earning it through achievement. Actions speak louder than perceptions. Winning big also means recognizing that not every voice deserves your attention. Some opinions come from insecurity, jealousy, or misunderstanding. You do not have to absorb everything you hear. You can listen without accepting. You can observe without reacting. You can choose peace over argument. You can prioritize progress over proving yourself. Time reveals truth. Results silence doubt. Growth speaks louder than defense. Self-value shows in your boundaries. You distance yourself from environments that weaken self-belief. You protect your confidence from negativity. You associate with people who encourage growth, instead of discouraging ambition. You do not stay in places that belittle your potential. You move toward spaces that support your evolution. When you value yourself, you understand that your future is too important to spend it shrinking for someone else's comfort. Valuing yourself also means forgiving yourself. You will make mistakes. You will have setbacks. You will experience doubt. Growth is not linear. But when you value yourself, you treat mistakes as lessons instead of identity. You learn from failure instead of hiding from it. You stand back up instead of collapsing in shame. You show kindness to yourself through improvement. Self-worth grows when you allow yourself to evolve without judgment. Winning big requires resilience. People may doubt your choices because they cannot see what you see. They do not have your vision. They do not feel your calling. They do not understand your journey. You must move even without applause. You must continue even without support. Self-value fuels commitment when external encouragement disappears. You become unstoppable when internal belief becomes stronger than external noise. When you prioritize self-respect, confidence rises naturally. You walk with purpose. You speak with assurance. You set goals without hesitation. You take risks without fear of criticism. You trust your capabilities. You feel stable within yourself. You no longer depend on others to feel worthy. You know your worth through action, discipline, and growth. This unshakable belief is what makes big wins possible. You win big when you stop trying to prove yourself. Trying to prove value means you still question it. When you know your worth, you no longer argue for it. You demonstrate it. You grow into it. You embody it. Progress becomes your answer. Results become your voice. Silence becomes your confidence. You do not need recognition to feel valuable. You create value through consistent self-development. Success becomes more reachable when doubt becomes background instead of direction. Opinions may attempt to discourage, but your belief becomes stronger. People may misjudge you, but self-trust becomes your anchor. You move because you choose to move. You rise because you decide to rise. Your growth becomes personal, intentional, and unstoppable. At times, valuing yourself means standing alone, not isolated, but independent, not disconnected, but self-guided. You follow your ideas without waiting for permission. You build quietly. You evolve consistently. You live boldly. You choose action over approval. You understand that external opinions do not define destiny. Effort does. Dedication does. Vision does. You win big when you no longer need acceptance to feel whole. You win big when your goals matter more than gossip. You win big when you choose authenticity instead of pretending. You win big when you stop fearing judgment. You win big when you pursue purpose rather than popularity. You win big when your self-worth becomes non-negotiable. This chapter stands as a declaration that your life expands when you prioritize your voice over the noise around you. You are not here to fit into expectations. You are here to build a life aligned with purpose. You are here to grow into your highest potential. Opinions will come and go, but your worth must remain steady. You win big when you value yourself above opinions. When you do, you move with power, lead with clarity, and live with freedom.